I'm Dr. Joe Vitale. You've landed on Zero Limits Living. Every week, I bring you inspiration and information to transform your life. This show has become so popular, you can now see it or hear it on 1,000 platforms across the planet. Everything from Roku to Apple TV to Amazon Fire to YouTube to probably anything you can name or find. I'm putting all the episodes in one place for your convenience. Go to ZeroLimitsLivingTV.com. ZeroLimitsLivingTV.com. That's where all the episodes are housed. There's also a form you can sign up and be alerted by email when a new episode is posted so you don't get behind. Also, people are always asking me about coaching. I started a coaching program almost 20 years ago. Miracles coaching has been proven, it's been tested, it's a system that works. I trademarked it probably 15 years ago. You can learn all about it by going to miraclescoaching.com and getting a free consultation. Miraclescoaching.com. And my latest product has been doing fantastic. Go to mentaltimetravelsystem.com. Yes, what's it all about? I know you're curious. Go to mentaltimetravelsystem.com. And now let's get to the heart of the matter. My goal is to help you. I'm bringing on guests here who are experts in their field, and they can teach you to acquire skills, to get results, and to raise even money, sometimes in very surprising ways. Now, what I have here today is somebody I've not talked to before, and it's a subject I don't know anything about. So we're going to learn all about this together. Let me tell you that our guest is Dr. Kizzy Parks. She is fully committed to her life of government contracting, helping you get funds from the government. She has achieved over $50 million in federal government contract awards. Through GovCon Winners, she guides and mentors you on how to win profitable government contracts using her proven method faster than any other coach. Also, this is just to intrigue you, she also holds the Guinness World Record title for the most skips with a jump rope while wearing flip-flops in 1 minute, probably while filling out government forms to get grants too. Anyway, let's welcome Dr. Kizzy Parks. Dr. Kizzy, how are you?
Yes, awesome. Dr. Joe, I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate it.
I couldn't wait to get you on. I heard about all this money you're raising and all these people you're helping. You've been called the queen of government contracting. That's quite a title.
Yes. Well, I mean, just recently, in less than 6 months, I've helped my clients get over $3 million in federal government contracts.
How do I sign up? Where's the form to fill out here? Well, let's back up. Dr. Kizzy, how did you get started in this? Where did it all begin?
Yeah. So when I was in graduate school, I was at Patrick Air Force Base at the time. I was working there as I was finishing my dissertation, and I was just another day at work walking down the hallway. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, the director of research popped up and he's like, Kizzy, I heard you're graduating soon. I want to keep you on as a contractor. And I was just like, what is happening? Because there's cubicle land. And, this was just supposed to be this cushy thing that I was
Uh-huh.
doing, and he's like, how much will it cost me? And I just threw out a number. I didn't know how to negotiate that time. And he was so excited and his eyes lit up and he has these bright blue eyes. And he's like, this is great. My assistant will get in contact with you. And that was the day 15 years ago, I became a government contractor. I started out as a subcontractor, and that body of work was for a little less than $100,000,
Mhm.
which to me was like millions of dollars. And that's how I started out.
Interesting. So I need to be clear on what exactly you're doing. You're the queen of government contracting. Are you raising funds or teaching individuals, like anybody watching right now? There's somebody watching this, there's somebody listening to this. They're in the United States, we'll assume. Can they raise funds from the government? Is that what you're helping them do?
I'm helping them in a couple of ways.
Okay.
I'm helping anyone who's entrepreneurial, even if you have a nonprofit and you
Mhm.
want to receive government contracts, you want to get grants, you want some kind of funding from the federal government. I am the go to person.
Ah,
And what really allows me to stand out is I also have government contracting companies. So, what I practice and my strategies work because we constantly win work from the government.
ah, excellent, excellent. How many companies do you have at this point?
About 6.
Wow, and you're running them all yourself?
I have my team run my government contracting companies. So
Mhm.
I help out as needed. My main focus is GovCon Winners, but I love the government work so much. I still like to dabble in it with my 3 companies.
Well, you light up when you talk about this. Most people don't light up when they talk about the government. Most people do not have a brightness in their face or in their eyes. You do. What do you know that the rest of us don't know? The rest of us don't even want to think about the government, or we want to replace it.
No, I
Where
was the same way. I was the
yeah.
same way. Even with that contract, I was the same way. I was like, well, what am I supposed to do with this? You're paying me to do diversity and inclusion. That's how I started out. But
Mhm.
then I realized, oh, all of these taxes that I've been paying since I was working, I think I started legally working at age 15. These are used to fund government contracting companies like Lockheed Martin and small companies that no one's ever heard of. And there's a website you can go to, sam.gov, and there's all of this government money. There's $600 billion. And when I started to piece that together, that, hey, I can get back this money that I've been putting in by providing to the biggest customer in the United States, I was like, oh my goodness, I must know more. And what else am I able to sell? And so that's why I light up, because I went from me, diversity and inclusion, to now I have the 3 companies. We have almost 200 team members. We do staffing, IT. We're in training, and it just, the sky's the limit. You literally can sell anything to the federal government.
And so what I'm hearing that's different, at least in my mind, and I'm trying to make sense of what you're saying here, and I'm getting excited as I listen to you. So I am catching some of the drift of your enthusiasm. Most of the time, when people think about getting money from the government, they're thinking of government loans, they're thinking of government grants, they're thinking of going to the government with their hat in their hand, saying, I need money for this cause, I need this money for my business. What I'm hearing you saying is that's part of it, but the other part is you can actually serve the government. The government can hire you for something. Is that correct?
Yes. And
Ah,
they buy practically everything under the sun when it comes to products and services. And I'll just give you a couple of
yeah,
these are
please.
real examples.
Good, good, good.
My favorite example, this is a personal favorite. Pretty much every military location has a chapel for religious services.
Mhm.
Catholic, Protestant, and some will also have a rabbi. Government contractors like myself provide the people to support the chapel. The government buys priests, rabbis, religious coordinator, musician. They're looking for a piano tuner right now. You don't have to be a religion major or specialist. My degree is not in religion. I don't have a crew of priests that I'm tight with. I mean, but what I do know is how to staff. I know how to fulfill a need.
Mhm.
And so that's one example. Another one that may be a little more mainstream for some people out there is there's the government spends billions on construction.
Mhm.
And we're talking all size projects. So one woman I coached, Her very first project was carpet cleaning for the Air Force. And she actually had set it up to outsource it to a company so she wouldn't have to provide the
That's
actual
good.
carpet cleaning machine
Mm-hmm.
or go
Mm-hmm.
there or do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very similar to almost like in Amazon where you're looking for new pillows and it may not be an Amazon brand. Somebody's providing the pillows. Amazon's still making their cut on you buying the pillows through the Amazon platform via a third party provider. And then lastly, the government buys products.
Mm.
A gentleman I met, he sells over $10 million every year to the VA, medical products from masks to things that medical professionals must wear to trays to anything and everything that the VA needs. Because, especially for those who are listening or watching where you have a touch point with the government, let's take our favorite, the IRS, right?
Okay. Yes.
We've all, maybe not all of us, but maybe you went to their website to see when you're getting your refund, right? Or maybe you called their hotline. Or maybe you went to their website because you wanted to get a tax ID number to start a business. Chances are the people behind the website, the people who took your phone call, the people who processed your paperwork, they're not government employees.
Wow.
They are people who work for government contractors. And so taxpayer dollars pay the contractor to pay the person to do the thing, and you profit on that. And often it's 5 years in duration, and the government always pays. They never miss a payment.
Yeah, you have my mind blown here. I mean, I'm absolutely fascinated with these stories. So, if there is an out of work piano tuner right now, potentially they could get a job tuning the organ at the church that's on the grounds of one of the military bases.
Yes.
This is amazing, and
Yes.
I'm even more excited and fascinated with the entrepreneurial thinking of the person who has the carpet cleaning company, who actually doesn't clean the carpets.
Right.
They sublet that out, so to speak. They get somebody else to do the service, but they're the ones who get the contract. She's the one who gets the contract from the government, so she gets paid, and then she pays somebody else to actually, drive on over there and clean the carpets. Is all correct?
Yes, correct.
Why does this sound too good to be true? What am I missing here? Most of us think the government is very slow, and most of us think, I'm projecting, of course, but most of us think they're bumbling idiots. So if I fill out a form to be the piano tuner for the military, is it how much competition is there? How long does it take? Who makes the decision?
You know, one of my students just the other day submitted a proposal for a federal agency to have this kind of netting created to keep away certain unwanted birds and to protect what it needed to and not protect what it didn't need to, right? So she found quotes, she got a quote, and she submitted the proposal. She found out there were fewer than 7 companies who bid on this work. One of the bids was over $300,000. Now, the government's not going to pay $300,000 for this, but for something like this, it who knows how much the winning bid will be, but the simple fact is only a handful of companies responded to this.
Mhm.
My coaching student, this is not her background. Her background is insurance and other areas. She has a high likelihood of winning because she followed my strategies. And by winning, she wouldn't be doing any of the work in the sense of putting the netting
Yes.
and doing that. She's engaging with the agency. She's doing the client relations piece. She's practicing all these other things. And what often keeps people out of this space and why I believe many people are unaware people don't want to give up the secret.
Mm,
You have Lockheed Martin, Boeing, you have Ball, you have Raytheon, you have IBM, you have Google, you have Amazon. Every single one of these billion-dollar companies all receive government contracts.
mm.
Then there's thousands who also do anywhere from a few thousand to tens of millions, and some just don't want to share. They don't want to share that the government is legislated to set aside certain contracts for small businesses, for
Mm.
women-owned businesses, for veterans. And so it's just one of these spaces where it's easy to make it seem confusing, like technology, right? Like, oh, I need to have an expert do it. Somebody needs to help me figure out my phone. Well, you can go on TikTok and look up different tricks and tips for phones, but it's like, oh, it's so hard and scary. And that's how I think government has been kind of painted. So then
Mm.
people stay away from it. And the people who know, they know, and they end up getting millions and millions and millions in this space.
I love it. You are really good. You're good at explaining this, and I love your enthusiasm and your charm about this whole thing. You made the comment on this one example that the bid might be $300,000, but the government's not going to pay that. Why did you say that? Is the government a price shopper? Was that too high, too low? Where did that statement come from?
So she practiced one of my favorite techniques, and it's getting in with the agency to get intel, which is really
Ah,
important.
mm-hmm,
And so with the government, we often think, oh, it's the government. They don't want to pay a lot. And sometimes that's the case, but that's no different than us, right? We
mm-hmm,
want to get a new television. We'll spend hours on end price shopping and looking up this site. And do they honor the site over here just to save $50 on a, 50-inch television per se? The government's the same. They're being mindful with taxpayer dollars.
mm,
So $300,000 to put that up when I knew that her bids were way less than that, I already knew the government's not going to pay that because typically they've done what's called market research, kind of like
mm-hmm,
us. Hey, what
mm-hmm,
is a new laptop cost? Let me go check. And we, same thing. What does it cost for something like this? So they have a
mm-hmm,
gauge. Maybe on the low end, it's 50,000. Maybe on the high end, it's 400,000. Same thing with
mm-hmm,
us. Maybe the low end, you can get a nice little starter computer for a few $100s, but maybe you
mm-hmm,
want a MacBook Pro with 4
mm-hmm.
terabytes. Who
Okay.
knows?
Mm-hmm.
So they do things like that. And that's how I kind of figure that out.
That's a great example, and that's a great parallel. How many people make the decision? Because me sitting here and being naive about this whole business that you're an expert in, it seems to me that I always understood it was a vote by committee, and that committee would argue with each other, and there's no real one decision maker, which would make it easier, I think, to get a bid approved. How many is it a lot of people? Are there committees? Does it has to go through the ranks and get to the top and then somebody signs off?
It's my favorite answer. It depends.
Okay.
It depends. There are various rules and regulations. And this is, I want to preface this with my take, my view based on my experience and what I've seen with my coaching students.
Mhm,
There are, and often there's a committee who will review the different proposal packages. Yes, often that's the case. But as with other things in life, no different than a job, where everyone in the office already knew who was going to get the job or the promotion,
mhm,
the same thing happens with the federal government. We're all humans. They
mhm,
do the same thing. Everything is run by humans. So
mhm,
in theory, you have people who are reviewing it, and sometimes, you may have other things, and that is why with the federal government, you have what's called, you can protest.
Really?
Right. So if
Mhm,
I'm bidding on something with a corporate client and they decide, hey, I don't want to go with you. Okay, they didn't go with me. I move on, right? But with the federal government, with some of these opportunities, you can kind of throw a flag in the air and protest it. And then an agency, a government agency, of course, will review it to see if you actually have a case.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So let me ask you this. You're coaching people to get these contracts. You have something called the GovCon Winners. So you're coaching people to do this. Are there people who are coming to you that are absolutely green, first of all, in understanding how to get the funding, the grants, or the job? And then, second of all, they don't precisely have a business. Maybe they are a could you give me an example of
Yeah, of
somebody who's
course.
come to you that didn't have any idea, any business, and you coached them to get
Yeah.
to some sort of a result?
Yes. So there are definitely several. So one of my favorites, there's someone who they were in trucking. So they were already in trucking, but they were kind of like a dispatcher, but weren't government certified.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
I helped them through that. Then I've had, which is definitely one of my all time favorites, a husband and wife. They didn't have anything. They didn't have a business. They kind of knew what they wanted to go after. And so then we worked together. I got them a service disabled set aside. Of course, I walked them through before that everything that they needed to be set up. I prefer LLC or S Corp. They got established as a business. They got into the government system. They got the set aside, and they're off to the races as far as bidding on different opportunities. And then I've also worked with those who they don't even know what they want to sell.
Right, right. That's what I want to
So,
hear about. Somebody doesn't even know what they want to sell.
yeah, so I have there's a particular person who they just they don't know. They just know that they don't want to work for anyone anymore. They have a
Mhm,
job,
mhm.
they don't like their job, and they want out. So what we've been working on is really introducing this person to the possibilities and the business model, because that's really key in the federal government, because the government buys so many things you can sell, very similar to Amazon. Like, you can sell a lot of different things on Amazon, but if it's going to take you 10,000 ink pens for you to be able to pay your mortgage every month, that may not be the best business model, right?
Mm.
And so what I've been doing with her is putting her through one of my strategies so she's able to see what I deem as low, mid, and high risk level opportunities.
Mhm.
So she has an understanding of what are the things, what are these opportunities that she could easily win? Is the type of work that she should go after that's going to bring ongoing revenue, because many of the contracts in the government are 5 years, some are 10 years in duration,
Mhm.
and you receive revenues every month. And so she's kind of going online and just kind of looking, and I'm helping her to also understand. That's another really big piece in this area, is to understand what they really want and how they want it. Because we hear something like, great example, training. That's where I started off in, was diversity training, leadership training, data analytics, all of that. So you think, oh, training is training. Well, not exactly. Is it in
Mm.
person? Is it online? What's the level of the person that you're training? Are they in uniform, not in uniform? Because, for instance, if you have people in uniform, then you have a whole rank situation going on.
Mm.
So it's nice to have military members in civilian clothes so that they don't feel uncomfortable if their boss is there, per se, right? It
Yeah,
just kind of
yeah.
equalizes everyone. So there's all these little nuances that we're not thinking about, because it's just, hey, I didn't know when I first started out. It took me 10 plus years to get to where I am. So I'm helping her with it, and I'm also showing her something that's really, really important, and that is Just because it's something you love, we love, you like doing, you can do, doesn't mean that's what you should sell to the government.
Right. Right.
So yeah, so that's been awesome. And then when she's ready, we'll further bid, and I have her partnering on different opportunities with me.
So part of what I think I'm hearing here is our focus so far in this conversation has been on what the government is looking for. They're looking for a particular talent, they're looking for somebody to solve a particular problem, and so they're kind of putting the word out, and we are applying to get that job. But
Yes.
what about the other side of this, which I think is the one most people think of, is when they already have their own personal cause and they're going to the government looking for a grant, a loan, a handout, whatever will get the government to say yes. Do you work in with as much on that area too?
Yes, I
Ah,
definitely do, especially those who are looking on the federal side, even those who are at the state level, because one of my companies has state level work too.
mhm,
Definitely, because one of the biggest pieces to that, networking and relationships. Often the belief is, well, I just need to hire a grant writer. Just
mm,
let me find a grant writer and then I'll get these grants. It's a little more complicated than that. The relationships are key. You being able to show that outcomes are also super important in the world of grants and getting kind of funding from the federal government, because they don't
mhm,
want it to seem like a money pit. So I
mm,
definitely
mm,
work with people and business owners. I'd worked with a woman, she was partnered with a university professor, a bunch of other just really amazing thought leaders. And I believe they ended up with over like $20 million from the city of Chicago to work on an effort. And an area that I'm super passionate about, because I know that these different organizations and agencies, they want and need our help.
mm,
And
mm.
it's like, it's the best client. It's the best client.
So I have a couple of weird questions for you,
Yeah.
but it's my way of feeling you out and understanding this. One is I'm fascinated by time machines. I even have a miniature time machine on my desk, and you heard in the introduction about one of my programs called the time machine. Do you think the government would fund my research into creating an actual workable time machine?
The answer is they definitely could. I don't see why not. They have
Well, that
funded all different types of research projects. The government has what's called broad agency announcements. And they also have small business innovative research.
hmm,
And in essence, these are programs to help increase innovation. That is one of the things that the federal government loves to get from industry. That's what they call us, industry. And
hmm,
so it's something definitely that they could fund. They could buy your training too. You had mentioned that before.
yes.
They buy the same kind of training we buy, that's really popular out there, or even sites like plural site subscription or LinkedIn
Mhm.
subscription. They buy this too.
You are amazing. You're exciting me here. I'm getting chills going up and down my spine. The other odd question, and maybe it's not so odd. When I was growing up, now I'm on my 70th year now, so this is a long time ago. I was always told that it would be easy for me to get a grant from the government to go to college, partly because I am one quarter American Indian. I'm mostly Italian and American, but there was that little bit of Indian in there. And so the argument that I heard mostly from my father, who was not educated about the government, is that as a minority, I would be able to get it. Is that is that true at all? Is it true today? Does it matter, you as a woman, race, any of these diversities? Does this help or hurt in
It
going after this?
helps. It super helps.
It
So
helps.
with the federal government, they have what's called, there's a couple agencies that recognize the Buy Indian Act. So as an individual, a business owner, if you qualify for their definition of being a Indian-owned company, then targeting those agencies would be in your best interest. There's also at the federal level, there's set asides woman-owned small business set aside and economically disadvantaged woman-owned. So as long as a business is not only majority owned by a woman, but also operated by a woman, there's work set aside. Their goal is to set aside 5% of the spend for women-owned businesses. Then there's the mother load, which I graduated from this program, is called the 8A, because that's the actual law. It's like the number 8.
Yeah.
A is in
8A.
alpha.
All right.
8A. And this program is for those who are socially, economically disadvantaged. Now, it definitely runs the gamut for shades of brown. It is not an automatic program that, oh, if you're Black or if you're Hispanic or if you're a minority, you're in this program. It's social economic. So for instance, I met a woman who's in the program. She's a white woman who lives in Hawaii. Well, in Hawaii, she is a minority.
Oh.
She grew up there.
Oh. Interesting.
Right? Interesting. Interesting. So it's there. That's a beautiful program because you can get this, $4.5 million sole source to you, no competition, through this program.
You got my head spinning. I'm starting to think of the government as Fort Knox. I mean,
It
they are in
really,
part, but I'm starting to think of them as the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and we haven't been looking over there. We've been complaining about that.
right.
So
Yeah.
for the people, my job is to help the people that are watching and listening, and I can tell your heart is there. You want to help as many people as possible. So for the people watching or listening, and maybe they're getting excited, but they have no clue where to start. Maybe they want to go for a grant, but maybe they're entrepreneurial and going, well, maybe I can do the carpet business and not actually do the carpets. I will get the contract, and then I'll go find a carpet beater and get them to go do the actual work or some equivalent to that. Where would they start? Where would anybody hear? Where's your website? Where do you send people? Where's step one?
Yes. Step one is go to govconwinners.com. That is step one.
GovConWinners.com.
Yes. GovConWinners.com is definitely step one. Go
Okay.
there and sign up on the wait list. You'll be added to our email list. The second step is you want to go to Sam, like Uncle Sam, sam.gov. You're going to go there, and at first you're going to be like, what is this? And you're going to feel overwhelmed because it's like learning a new language. And keep in mind that sometimes things are purposely set up for it to seem intimidating, when in reality it's just, you just got to learn the code. That's it. You just got to learn the code. It's like getting a new phone and realizing, oh, now I do this to get to this home screen, or this is how I make a call now instead of doing that. It's all it is. It's like driving a rental car. The button to start the car may be up here, and instead of shifting the gear, you press drive, and it's a button now. It's I promise you, it's not that hard. It's really not. So that's the second place to go. Third is to definitely connect with me. The easiest way to connect with me is to email me. So
Okay.
please email me at kparks@govconwinners.com. kparks@govconwinners.com. It's the
And no period between the K and Parks, so it's one
correct
altogether.
all
KParks at
together. Yeah.
govconwinners.com.
Yes.
That's very
kparks@govconwinners.com.
that is very kind and generous of you to give your email address out.
Well, it's the least I could do because then I'll be able to share even more information. I have a Facebook group,
Uh,
and I have a ton of resources. And my favorite place for everyone to go is I have a YouTube channel, Kizzy Parks. I have blonde hair in that one. I don't have my blonde platinum hair anymore, but Go to my YouTube channel and I talk a lot about it, because the very important thing, it's not about understanding the different acronyms. It's not even about getting registered. It's you making that decision that you not only should take this step, but you're going to succeed and be an amazing government contractor. That's what's important, is having that mindset and knowing, you know what, I'm going to be able to do this. There's no reason I can't do it.
Okay, let's stop there for a second because this is where I think a lot of people are going to hit a block. And they're probably as excited as I am right now because I want to talk to you. I want to email you. I want to go to the website. I want to get on the waiting list. I want to find out the money I left on the table because I was bad mouthing the government where they were holding millions that could potentially go to me. But for the people that are excited and they're thinking, yeah, that would work for Dr. Joe, that works for Kizzy, that works for all these other people. But, I've had a run of bad luck. The pandemic kicked me back. I lost my job. They're in the doom and gloom, and it's hard how do they get past the dark in their own mind to make that decision? I am going to do this. I am going to be a government contract winner, and I am going to be abundant.
Go back to that time of when you had that similar thought in life.
Hmm.
There was some other point in time. It might have been during a marriage, it might have been raising a kid, it could have been in high school, could have been in elementary school, could have been your parents went through divorce, or it's go back to that point in time and recall what actually happened, because you got through it. You got through it. And whatever it is you did to get through that thing, whatever it was, you got through it. It's realizing you already can do this because you have done this. You've
Mm,
done it at some point in your life. So it's taking that thing and applying it to the federal government.
mm.
One of my coaching students, he came from a horrific background. And in 3 months, he's won about $500,000 in federal government contracts,
Oh,
finding people to do the work for the government. He has one of
wow.
the biggest waste management companies in the America subcontracting to him.
That's a beautiful story and a beautiful reminder. And that's also great therapy to go back and realize I got through it before, and that same level of strength is still in me,
Yes.
and I can apply it to this.
Yes.
That is really great. You are amazing. Listen, before we run out of time here, I wanted to ask a couple other questions.
Yeah.
And one of the questions I like to ask people is, look, you knew I was going to interview you. This has been booked for a little while. So was there a question you were hoping I would ask? Or maybe you were afraid I was going to ask? And is there a story that you were hoping you would get a chance to tell? Here's your opportunity to address what you were hoping you would get a chance to do.
Well, I mean, you've asked me everything. The only
Mm.
thing I want to add, if
Yes.
I may,
Yes.
is for my Guinness Book of World record,
I was going to ask about that.
I jumped 182 times in 60 seconds.
Wearing flip-flops,
Yes. The
skipping
cheap,
rope.
yes. And the cheap flat flip flops, like the ones we all worn and then they break 20 minutes later. Those. It was those.
All right, so I have to ask, what possessed you or inspired you to take that particular challenge? It is a pretty unique challenge. I
Yeah.
didn't even know it existed. What made you take that one?
I was really inspired by, I love David Goggins, and
Yes, yes.
he had a pull up title for a while, and I had foot surgery and I love jump rope. Like when I first started losing weight, I was all about jump rope. So I said to myself, I'm like, okay, David Goggins, he got a Guinness title in addition to everything else he's done. And this is going to be my way to celebrate overcoming this foot surgery, because I couldn't walk for 3 weeks after
Hmm.
having it. And so I was like, I want to jump rope in spin shoes because I love to spin. I love all the chain spin places. I love spinning. And when I reached out to them, they said, "That's a great idea, but no." And I was like, "What?" Because I had research, right? I'm this researcher. I looked into all these different jump rope titles and the different things of that nature. And they said, the shoes that you chose are not difficult enough. Spin shoes are too easy, Kizzy.
Oh,
How about you pick
wow.
something else?
Wow.
And so they threw out flip flops, and I thought that's so appropriate because my home is in Miami Beach. And so I went with flip flops, and I have the title, and it's at home in my office.
Well, first of all, congratulations. And I love that you took a challenge and I love that you adapted when they said, no, you can't wear the particular shoes you wanted. And you did it anyway.
Yeah.
Did you make a YouTube video? Did somebody film you doing that?
Oh my goodness. The requirements that you go through for the title, it's worse than a tax audit. It's I mean, it was crazy. I have the video. So I have slow-mo video, regular speed video. 5 of us were there.
Wow.
They had to approve the jump rope, approve the shoes, approve the location. The actual auditor, uh, he's so sweet. He said, that he and his wife watched the slow-mo video 5 times because that's how fast I was jumping.
Wow. Wow.
So I have the footage. I put it on Instagram. It's out there. I can't believe it was like a couple years ago. It's so weird.
Well, you are a remarkable person. Back to the people that are watching and they're thinking that they're putting their hands together, going, money, 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 money,
Yes.
money, money.
Yes.
What are a couple tidbits, a quote, a piece of advice, something that you want them to do right now or think right now? You did give them to dos. I mean, going to the government thing, the sam.gov, writing you, Kate Parks at GovConWinners.com. You gave them very specific things to do. Is there something you want them to keep in mind? Something you want them to do right now? Something that comes to mind that's helped other people?
The thing that is very, very helpful is this. It just takes one contract.
Hmm.
It's all it takes. So the woman who got the carpet cleaning contract, she just wanted a contract. She was like, her background is not carpet cleaning at all.
Yeah, I hear
And so
that.
she
That's
got the
great.
contract, and she just knew once she got that one contract, it would solidify and show her she could do it. And
Wow.
earlier today, she sent a text message to me because she's one of my coaching clients. And she said, I just was awarded a new body of work for the state in Pennsylvania. She's like, I initially bid on it. I didn't get it. I don't know what happened, but they sole sourced it to me because she has an 8A. She has another set aside called a hub zone. And so the takeaway is, in addition to you just need that one, don't count yourself out. There
Hmm.
have, as with her, I've experienced it too, where I didn't win something, or I thought something was going to turn into something. And maybe months later or years later, it turns into an actual contract.
Wow.
So it's the long game in federal government contracting. That's why Lockheed Martin has been around so long.
This is great. I want to squeeze in one more question if you don't
Yeah, of
mind
course,
here.
of
I
course.
need to seize the moment and see what I can
Sure.
get here. What about a creative type? Say that there's somebody that is an artist or they're a poet or they're doing something, they're a musician. Is there a way to find out if the government is going to build a building and they need paintings in the building, or if they're going to be putting on a show and they need musicians? You had mentioned earlier about
Yeah.
music teacher, that's definitely there. But what about not the carpet cleaner at this point, but what about the creative, the person that is doing painting, the poetry, singing, music, whatever?
Yeah, they have okay, I have some great examples for you on this.
Oh,
So, they buy drums and they buy musical things. So, if you're creative and you like to sell products or different musical instruments, that's an option. Now, for just creatives, This reminds me of one of my favorite colleagues who I interviewed on my YouTube channel, David. David finds a lot of work where the federal government wants art, to the example you gave.
Yes.
Sometimes they'll want like an installation, right? Like think about like if you've ever gone to like a state park or like a museum and you see the installation and there's information, usually there might
Yes.
be some art
Hmm.
illustrations.
Hmm.
Somebody created those. So David will find the opportunity and then he uses Google to find the art. So one came up recently where they wanted a very specific type of art to commemorate the gentleman who created Black History Month.
Ah.
So what he did, and this is on YouTube, my video interview with him on this, he Googled this type of art and he found a college professor. He emailed the college professor and said, "Hey, they're looking for this type of work. Is this something you could do? And could you give me examples from your portfolio?" And he shows the emails back and forth. They go, and he ends up winning the work. And now this college professor, because of somebody like David, no different than the carpet cleaning, found an artist who's going to create this piece of work. In addition, they also need videographers, they need people for podcasts, they need
Mm.
graphic designers. I have graphic designers who work for my company. And so there's all kinds of opportunities out there. And there are tons of government contracting companies who are seeking you amazing creatives to partner with them on different opportunities.
You are incredible. You have opened my eyes. And I hope the people watching and listening have had the same aha experience. Dr. Kizzy Parks, I can't thank you enough. Thank you for being on my show. Thank you for sharing so much. Thank you for being so open, for generosity, giving all the information, including your email.
Oh, well, thank you. I cannot thank you enough, Dr. Joe. I am so honored to be here and I am such a huge fan and I'm just so honored. My soul is so warm right now. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you. Everybody, you've been watching Zero Limits Living. Every week, I bring you inspiration and information to transform your life. The show can now be seen or heard on 1,000 platforms. I'm putting all the episodes in one place, ZeroLimitsLivingTV.com. Go get your Miracles Coaching session. Find out what it's all about, miraclescoaching.com. Check out my time travel machine. I'll be making one for the government soon. Go to mentaltimetravelsystem.com. I want to thank Luxe Media Studios, Candace Barr, Nick, and Chris that are helping us today with the engineering. And I want to thank all of you for watching. You're the ones bringing light to the world. Expect miracles. Thank you.
Glutathione is a big word. It's the body's own master antioxidant. It's a scavenger for free radicals, bacteria, and viruses. There are no products in the market with the ingredient NASET. NASET increases the production of glutathione that's in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system, elevate sense of well-being, support muscle strength and endurance, cognitive function, and liver support. It helps with increased energy and blood sugar regulation. Get your bottle of GSH Plus from www.salvationnutra.com.